Our week of prayer and fasting is fast approaching. 16th to the 20th of March, a chance to pray together as a church family, online and in person with one another, praying for God to break through in our lives and in our church, praying for the blessing of God on what we're doing, praying that He would continue to transform us to make us more like His Son Jesus. A week of prayer. 4 chances to pray each day. We also want to make it a week of prayer and fasting. Fasting is an ancient spiritual tradition we see in many times throughout the Bible. Recently, just with the book of Esther, we've seen Esther call her people to pray and to fast specifically for breakthrough. We saw last year in the book of Daniel fasting as well. We come to the life of Jesus and we see Jesus fasting, and we see Jesus say the immortal words to his disciples, "When you fast." In other words, fasting is an assumed practice for anyone who wants to be a follower of Jesus. There's lots of reasons why we might fast, but there are deep spiritual Christian reasons why we fast, why we set time aside to, instead of eat, to pray, instead of consume in our body, but rather than that, to express with our body our hunger for God and our need for His supernatural breakthrough in our lives. Fasting might be new to you, or it might be a discipline, a practice that you've held and followed for many years. Either way, we want to just take a moment in this video to remind us or to teach us for the first time really what is fasting all about. We are part of a wider family of churches, and that means that we can draw on the wisdom and resources elsewhere. And just a couple of weeks ago, a friend of ours, Holly Noble, spoke in our church in Oxford Community Church, and she spoke from the Sermon on the Mount about fasting. And she gave us 4 reasons why we fast as Christians. So we've just put those together now for you, and we can watch and take on these 4 reasons why we fast.
Fasting is first and foremost about offering ourselves to Jesus. Romans 12:1 tells us to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Fasting has to first be about seeking God before it is about seeking anything from God. Fasting is not about punishing our bodies. It is about connecting with God with our bodies from a place of need and surrender. It is a way that in response to the sacredness of God, we can step out of normal life and normal habits and refocus on what is important. The second reason I want to explore is to grow in holiness. Now, of course, when it comes to our formation into people of love with transformed minds, we have the Holy Spirit. He is ultimately the one who brings transformation. But we can make intentional decisions about how we make space in our lives for Him to transform us. As we practice self-discipline in choosing to love God and others over our own desires, we grow in our ability to choose to love God and others over our own desires. We grow in holiness. I think fasting can help us hear God better as we choose to kind of focus our whole attention on Him with our whole selves, including our bodies. But I also think there can be a focusing or sharpening of our prayers as we align our minds and our hearts and our bodies in prayer. 4th reason I want to give to you is to fast as a response to injustice. So fasting can be a way to grieve a particular injustice or lament a loss or tragedy. It's also an appropriate embodied response more generally to the absence of Jesus in the world. We have tasted and seen the goodness of God. We have seen Jesus, and we get to know the joy of coming close to Him. And yet, the world is not as it should be. I think we all know this. War and death and sin and sickness are still all around us. We still suffer and mourn and grieve because Jesus, though present by His Spirit in us, is still somehow absent. Whatever you feel the right response is for you today, can I invite you not to do it alone? Speak to someone, a friend or a personal pastor, maybe your community group. We have the joy of encouraging and spurring each other on in community. So let's respond together.
So there we have 4 reasons why we fast as Christians. 4 brilliant reasons outlined by Holly. Really encourage us all as members of Whitney Community Church to think about how could I engage in fasting during this week of prayer that we've got coming up, 16th to the 20th of March.